Do you sometimes feel incompetent or struggling on getting your business off the ground? How about do you not understand what is stopping you from creating the success that you really want to achieve? Or are you really frustrated at being the world's best kept secret? Welcome to Your Business Edge Amplify Marketing for Small Business. I have a very special guest with me today. Her name is Pia Harriman. She is a high performance leadership coach, and I can't wait for us to dive in and talk about some of her expertise that she's going to share with you on how to help you grow and build your business in a leadership capacity. One of the things that Pia does is she teaches women how to build their work tribe through profitable conversations. And so I'm really excited to hear more about that. So welcome, Pia. Welcome to my show. And tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you are achieving today.
Oh, Susan, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Well, what I am doing and a little bit about me. I actually started off at the front desk of a hotel, but pretty much making what I think $5.15 an hour, and look it up, it's a real wage back then. Anyway, so I was doing that, and of course to try to work while in college, all of that, and then I realized this is an opportunity for me to actually work when a lot of people would have looked at, oh, this is minimum wage, it's just a job, I'll find something else. For me, I was very grateful. And I think that's a huge core and part of why I've been able to progress now, and why a lot of successful entrepreneurs are at that rate of success, is it starts with gratitude. So I learned that early on, even working at $5.15 an hour, where it didn't matter about the wage. I'm here in a hotel and I get to show you and give you the experience. I'm that first point when you come into my city. So that attitude right there quickly launched to get me to manage and run my own hotel before I turned 30. And what I'm telling you is I manage and oversaw over $11 million in assets and revenue. It was under 10% employee turnover. So right there, that's a huge feat, especially before you even turn 30. And because of all of that, there is no way I would have been able to achieve such a feat without the creative and successful teams the successful teams I created. And so that stuck with me. I learned early on, other than being grateful for where I was in, that we're better together. And so because of that, it's allowed me to grow and to progress. And then of course, my very first book that I wrote, it's truly about leadership and leadership in the teams inside the workplace. And on top of that, now I host a Women in Business and Fueling Those Leaders in the Workplace through my podcast.
And kudos to you. That is such a huge accomplishment. So well done. And it really positions you as an expert in this industry. You know what it takes. I love it that you really rely on and emphasize teams. I know that a lot of entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, they're really hesitant to start bringing new people onto their team. There's for a myriad of reasons. And so the purpose of today's show is to showcase how teams are really going to help you get to that next level, and also learn that there are different aspects of leadership that a business owner needs to encompass in order to be able to accomplish the kinds of things that you've accomplished. So when we look at today's landscape of female entrepreneurs, what is the biggest challenge that you see them facing when trying to build a business?
Well, in my experience, coming from the corporate world, it's already, I guess it's you're one step behind for just being a female in the industry. And then it's 10 times harder to try to break out of that and then now build something completely all on your own. And so the biggest challenge right now is that when women get into business, I think they're getting into it with the wrong idea, with the wrong expectation. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times women who get, especially in the level of where I was at, where you reach the heights of corporate America and then you figure, hey, I can do something on my own now. because I have a family to raise and I have children and I want to have more flexibility in time, because the corporate world keeps me tethered to there. And then they go and then they think, oh, well, I like making coffee, so I'll, open up a coffee shop so that I can then have more time with my children. And
Mm.
that is strictly the wrong reason to do something, because as women especially, we tend to take on way more than what we think we should, because that's correlated to our worth. So we think, okay, in order to get into business, because yeah, I think I could do it, especially because it's for my kids. And then all of a sudden, oh, I can open a coffee place. I'm going to hire 10, 15 baristas. I'm going to get a manager. I'm going to get I'll do the books. I'll do that, everything, the operations part, all of that. And then they fail. And all of a sudden they just keep piling and piling on that plate, because we think that's our worth. And we think, oh, we got it.
Mhm.
So the biggest detriment is that when they go into anything, even if they love coffee or they love this or they're passionate about this, because in the end the result is flexibility and time and whatever it is, they're shooting themselves in the foot, because it's not a true outline. There's not a real plan in place. They just figured, well, I got this, I can handle it, and really, no.
That is such a good point. And it kind of leaded me to the next question is, what is that fundamental thing that all women business owners or budding business owners should do before they, do step one of starting a business, in fact?
The very first thing is do your homework and research it. There's a huge difference whether you like something or you're willing to really make it work and enjoy the journey and embrace the failures. And if you're doing it for flexibility for family, to realize now you're working 16-hour days, at a minimum. And so those are the things that, if that's not in your pipeline, to understand this is what it takes just because I'm passionate about it, then it's, like I said, it's going to fail. So first step, really pay attention to why you're getting into it and make that plan in place. And in all honesty, especially coming from corporate and breaking off, you cannot just jump ship. That's my huge advice. Do not just jump ship just because, oh, my boss is on me and I'm not making enough money and I'm not doing all these other reasons. Like I said, you're not figuring out the right reason, and then you just quit. It's okay to do it on the side. It's okay to do it late at night after the kids are down, and then you show up again 9 o'clock in the morning for your day job, as long as you're willing to do that work. And sometimes I've known entrepreneurs that have done their what they call side hustle and make it into their full-time business after 12 years in corporate America. So it's not I'm just going to do this tomorrow and it's going to just be perfect. And if you have that opportunity and that luck, that is fantastic. And I'm super proud of those types of leaders and women that can actually branch out to do that. But really, don't jump ship. Put that plan into place first.
That is such good advice. And I've worked with a lot of women who have left corporate to create their own business. And some do the jump ship, and their expectations are not realistic. And then a year later, they're struggling. They just did not do that due diligence that you're talking about. That really is necessary. I think one of the things that a lot of, I shouldn't pinpoint this as women, because I think men are probably just as guilty of this, is not fully understanding that this is a business. It's not, like having a side babysitting job or, something that is not considered an official business. And I think that message comes to us through the online world, through social media, where we're told by these gurus, oh, you can make $1 million by just following my 10-step process. And we fall for that. And we're not really looking at this as an actual business. We're more looking at this as a easy way to make a bunch of money so that we can sit on the beach or play with our family and have that free time. And so it's a utopia that, gets painted as a picture, and the reality is that's far from the truth. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
And speaking of, today's marketing age, what is the best way for a female entrepreneur to become more known and present in front of her ideal client, so that we can kind of cut that learning curve short a little bit? And like you said, they're going to do the due diligence and have a plan in place, even create their business on the side while they're still in their corporate job. But what advice can we give that will help them shorten that time period for them to get to that point where they can comfortably leave their corporate job?
That is a fantastic question, Susan. Mine comes from experience. We are better together. So what I mean by that is start networking and getting into connect with those that are already in your field. Find out the people that are already successful to what you're deciding to do. If people are wanting to get into web development, branding, marketing, definitely reach out to someone like you. Somebody where they're even just nudging you along. And I know as entrepreneurs, we're busy, but it's also very healthy for us to, as now on the flip side, give a little bit of advice and care back to that budding entrepreneur. But when you're starting off, we're better together. And part of it is like doing your homework, like I mentioned, where you're doing that plan. But when you get into that space of the industry that you want to get into, and you're learning and you're getting to know these people even online, and you're reaching out, you're only going to cement the fact that you are meant to be in this business. And so when you reach out and you're getting to know the struggles and just picking their head and their brain into what they went through and what do you think is the solid advice. And in social media, it does not have to be, this 17-page email that, oh, it's going to be waiting for you at Monday, 9 a.m. No, it's so simple now with social media that we can connect with people much easier. Tweeting, we can go and leave just a message, all of these different things, and you'll be surprised the type of feedback that you're going to get, especially because how we're connected already online. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, great advice. Definitely we are better together. There's nothing more powerful than especially women supporting women, because we are naturally nurturing beings. And it is like you were mentioning before, I think in a previous conversation, about that masculine model versus sometimes women are on the opposite end. We're people pleasers, and we what would you say to somebody who kind of needs to boost up that leadership muscle? What kind of advice could you give on somebody who even can admit that they don't want to ever hear no, or they don't ever want to say no, I should say, and are spreading themselves too thin, and are afraid to be bold and be present as the face of their business?
That's a fantastic question. And that's exactly what I harp on when I have the opportunity to talk to such fantastic women who are trying to figure it out. My message is simple. Keep it simple. We are inclined to just continue to get more and more and more. And it is a psychological thing. As women, we think, we're the caregivers, we're the nurturers, like you mentioned. We want to be able to make sure that everything is working, especially where we're humble enough to just do it on the back end. So the back end, where nobody's also pressuring us or holding us accountable, we're going to continue to say, give me more, give me more. Oh, I've got it. Da, 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 da. And for some reason, and it could be the masculine feminine debate, where men tend to be so compartmentalized in the way they think. So it's easier for them to take on one task, finish it, another task, finish it, another task. And it's not that they're better, it's just that's just how they're wired. For us, we see 10 things and we're like, we've got it.
Yeah.
And so especially harping in on moms who, if there's one child about to jump off the bed and then the other one screaming to try to, get some food, you have to decide and figure out, how can I do this at the same time? And then we figure it out. But the thing is, the kid that's going to jump off the bed and might fall and hurt himself, I think takes more priority than the person screaming. We don't want to hear that screaming child. So we think, oh, okay, I got to do everything. And then we stress ourselves out. So my whole point is, take the time when you plan something out. You're going to realize and start learning your priorities. Then you're going to start realizing, this is a true, like you said, this is my business. This is something that's going to be my legacy. This is something that is going to put my stamp in the world. If I cannot do the 18, 20, 30, 80 things that come with it, that is okay. Because, and I'll give a quick little short story. There was this one entrepreneur where she wasn't good at creating her website, but she didn't want to pay for somebody to build her website. So then, she had also her own consulting services. Asked her, well, how much does it take? How much do you charge an hour? Right? And she said, oh, it's 150. Okay. Well, then how much is it to hire somebody that'll do the website? Oh, it's like $50 an hour. Okay. And I think she saw where I was going, because it flipped, saying, so you just lost $150 by you sitting there trying to, or 100 rather, by you sitting there trying to figure it out when you're not that equipped to it, versus paying somebody and actually saving yourself that $100. So we think, oh no, we can't afford it. We've got it. I just have to put in the work because that equals my worth. The wrong mindset. So really look at this as a true business. Look at what you need to do. And you have to, just like any business. And if you came from the corporate world, they treat you just like that there's a time and place when you come in. There's a time and place when you enter these files. There's whatever it is, you handle the guests. Sometimes it could be a little sporadic, but there's still a process. Yeah. And that can also in turn create that same dynamic into your own business. Don't treat it as it's just a hobby. Treat it as a true business.
Yeah, that was such a fantastic example, because it's very, very prevalent, and it's interesting the way you phrased it. And I wish that more and more people would understand that the more time that they're spending struggling, trying to figure something out that isn't in their core competency, is time taken away from them actually making money. And
right.
Then look at that as hiring somebody who knows 10 times more than what you do. Right. Even if you were able to figure it out yourself, that doesn't mean it was done all that well, because somebody with that expertise can do a much better job, a much quicker job, and frees you up from having to learn someone else's industry altogether. But think of it as an investment, as opposed to an expense that you can't afford. Because like you said, it is a mindset thing. It's a lack perspective that really does hinder the progress of achieving the goals of understanding that why, and actually accomplishing what you want to accomplish. So let's kind of revisit a little bit about those entrepreneurs who are doing all the right things. They've got their team in place, and they might still be struggling a little bit. They're not quite getting out there in a way that is resonating with their ideal target market. Do you have any kind of words of wisdom to share on how they can get themselves in a brand position that helps boost their business quicker?
Oh, absolutely. And I hate when I say it's simple, because a lot of people, if it were simple, everybody would be doing it. But the easiest thing to get yourself truly as a brand, as a solid brand, and people are paying attention, is being as authentic as possible, being really true to who you are. It's okay to be kooky and crazy, and if that's truly in your heart, in your core, or if you're very serious but you're consistent. That's the big key, is being authentic with consistency. Because what happens is, this is not just psychological, it's biology. So in your brain, the way that it thinks is the fact that it comes up into, if something is out of its place or out of routine, a lot of times people say reptilian brain or croc brain, it actually changes and gets into defense mode, or it's, oh, my atmosphere, my environment is changing, something, I'm in danger, something's going to happen. And so why I'm saying that is that people, human beings, people who are going to be in your forefront, your potential client, your potential vendors that you're going to connect with, your potential team members that you're going to recruit, they need to understand your authenticity, and then also you're predictable. And what that means is, when you're authentic, when you're true, and you're consistently showing up the same true self every single day, because that's also important. You can't just post a couple of things and then disappear. Then people start to believe you, and that's when they start to trust you. And then when they trust you, they realize, okay, you know what? I like her. I like what she's about. And in all honesty, when people actually work with you, it's not because they're paying you because you could do the job, or they're trying to get something done and you offer that service. They really are connecting with you. They're really connecting you because they believe what you believe. So if you believe, especially because you and I spoke about this in our previous podcast episode, that you didn't get into business trying to be the next billionaire, trying to do this and just make the quick buck, and then making sure that you make a ton of money and then not offer any value. You did it for the right reasons, and you're doing it because you're genuinely there to actually help that customer authentically, and you're humble about it too. So because it's not where you're trying to be flashy and saying, look what I did and look all the X amount of clients that I have. You are doing that where, no, I'm providing value for you. But in order for you to know that, you're going to have to see it, and you're going to see it consistently, and you're going to believe it. And people do. People see that and they gravitate, and then they go to you, women like you, women like a ton of people that are actually doing it right. And they believe that. They believe in what you believe in. They partner with you because they're saying, yeah, I do want to also create a business that's authentic, that I am humble, I'm not doing it to be a billionaire, etc. And that's the true reason of why entrepreneurships and connectiveness, and why all these different facets of becoming truly a successful entrepreneur, especially as a woman, is that we're able to do it, and we're doing it together. And if you learn that, and you really hone in on that, and you show that with your core, you're going to do just fine.
That is fantastic advice. And it's so true. It's beyond true. In fact, it really is. I was just talking to a client this morning about that very same thing, where, she was kind of saying to me about, how disenchanted she is with the guru kind of platform, where it really is, it makes her feel icky, like she doesn't want to she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to be that person who is making outlandish claims and is just very false. And I go, fantastic, great, stop listening to the gurus, because it's not where the face of marketing is going. In fact, we're there now. Yeah. So what happens is the only people that are really making money off of that kind of a model are the people who are teaching people to become those kinds of people.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And you know what though? That's because they believe in that, and they connect with the people that believe in that. And that's how they in their own, I guess, right, are successful in that way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because there is a shared purpose. They are connecting at that level. And so for those who want to be very authentic and real, this is the world that we're in right now, where brands don't have the kind of loyalty that they used to have. And now we have to earn it through our authenticity and through that building of trust. And having that exposure to us as a person. It's like that humanness is really a big component in our marketing, our business nowadays, where it can't be, a checklist of, okay, I did this, and I should be a millionaire now. It really is a matter of developing that trusting factor with our followers. And you said it perfectly, where, that is the best way to do it, because we're in business we're on a mission of some sort. We're on purpose. And if we did our homework the way you had described right from the beginning, we understand our why. We understand our purpose, what it is that we want to achieve or accomplish, or what kind of difference do we want to make in the world. And that is the story that we need to relay through our efforts, through our social media efforts and podcasts and webinars like this and things like that. Is, that's how we portray our authenticity and gather the people who resonate with our message. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of podcasts, you did have me as a guest on your podcast recently, which was fantastic. So tell everybody about your podcast and why did you create that? What's your why for your podcast?
Well, thank you. I had so much fun recording you and learning about your story. So yes, it was great. It's called the Pink Seed Podcast. And the reason why I did that, just like how I wrote my book, was that when I was building these teams and I was getting into that level where I'm looking around and people didn't want to just work for me, they wanted to work with me. And that was some sort of high for me. I was really creating people that really wanted to now be their own leaders, that they didn't think, oh, it was possible for me. I just showed up and, I need to pay my bills. And so that's why I'm here, to really looking at it and saying, wow, this can be a career for me, because I'm having somebody that believes in me. So when I did that, and I had, the people were coming in and saying, I'm this now. I still have it today. It's pretty cool, but I still have it where they'll shoot me messages saying, I'm an assistant general manager now, or I'm this, and I'm looking at them like, that's fantastic. Well, of course you were, and when they tell me these things, especially back then, I said, well, how can I help more people than just the hotels that I'm managing? Let me put it down on paper. So I did that first. And then I started thinking, well, how can I grow it to where people are just listening to it right before they head to work or at the gym or what have you? And so I realized, why don't I create this podcast? What I love most about it is just like how I mentioned earlier, is I'm surrounding myself with the same like-minded individuals that are truly wanting to see each other thrive, especially women in business. Yeah. And so I've had the opportunity to meet fantastic women like you and interview, dozens of women actually that I need to put on the podcast soon. But and to where I'm even learning, it's fantastic where they're coming on and saying, you know what, I'd love to share my story. But even myself, I'm listening to it, I'm saying, that's really good. That's really good. I'm going to implement that in my life, So, right. And it has nothing to do with, oh, I've done that before and I know exactly what you're talking about. It's always a learning opportunity for me. And so that's the reason why I'm blessed to have the opportunity to actually be in that type of environment, podcasts and writing the book.
Fantastic. And that kind of reminds me about another little quick tip is that, when we are building our business, it is always good to be in that learning mode. And like you had said right at the beginning is, tap into the people who have already established that authority and credibility. But even when we're talking with prospective clients, always have that sense of how can I help? How can I be of service? And be curious with that person. Make it less about you and more about them. And that is where your authenticity comes through. So I really love, the premise of your podcast. And it's like, creating a village of powerful women leaders who are on this world to make a difference and make a big change. Now, you also mentioned that you have a book. So tell us a little bit about your book, and I'll put a link for the book in our down below.
So it's the highest paid employee, 10 Principles of Leadership. You can get it off of Amazon. But the reason I wrote that was, especially coming from corporate America, you are surrounded by people in leadership roles and management roles that should not be in them. And the only reason they're in them is because, well, I know how to do a spreadsheet 10 times faster than a normal person, or things like that. And they get into it, and all of a sudden, high turnover, there's attrition that goes up. I mean, all of these different facets of the company that people don't think about hit rock bottom because there are people in these leadership roles that do not know how to lead. They think, well, yeah, I'm the manager. They just need to listen to me and that's it.
Mm.
And you are managing and overseeing people, and all people want. You're not hiring or managing children. These are people that truly are wanting, in my opinion, three things. They want to be able to feel safe and trusted, have the ability to contribute, and know that their work is valuable. When you're into that type of space and you understand that, that dynamic shifts. And now you have people that are wanting to work with you. And then all of a sudden it leads to this culture, to then leads to your customers. To then all of a sudden now you're making a ton of money.
Yeah.
And people don't ever think about that. They think, how am I going to reach the end of the quarter and making X amount of sales and hitting our numbers, which they came up with? It's never, they're going to go to their competitor and see their P&L and think, or their budget and think, oh, well, yeah, let's try to beat them too. No, it's, they came up with their own stuff and then really realize, okay, yeah, we have to beat these numbers that we made up, instead of really looking at, wait, who are the ones that are actually helping us beat these numbers? It is our people. So that's the reason why the book came out, because leaders were once employees who looked at how you managed and knew they had to be different.
That sounds like an exceptional book, because I've heard that before, that being a problem. We're putting people in the wrong positions for the wrong reasons. And so it sounds like a fantastic book for people to grab before they even start building their teams, so that they are fully aware of the progression and who is best suited for which position and that kind of stuff. So I'll definitely put a link to that book down in the comment section. So
no, I appreciate that, Susan. And let me add just one more second, if I may. In anything that I've done, it is from the experience of being obviously in the corporate world, going into being an entrepreneur. I'm sure there's several dozens, hundreds, thousands of women out there that they've worked at some sort of something in corporate America, whether it's, at the mall, or whether it's at a Chili's or what have you. They picked up clues on how to become a successful leader and into their business if they're now a solopreneur now. And they picked up how there's people out there that are treating people poorly, or aren't organized, or aren't great with communicating their needs or their business or their strategy to their employees or to their customers. And people pick that up. And that's the reason why it's so versatile, and it can transfer over to the entrepreneur space, because of the fact that we've all been exposed to some sort of lack of when it comes to our work, and then we think that's okay and that's acceptable, and then we bring that into our business.
Yeah, good point. Very, very good point. And an excellent point to conclude on. Thank you so much, Pia, for being a guest on my show today. Tell us where, or tell my viewers where we can get more of you.
Well, I really appreciate it. I mean, in all honesty, if you just love the podcast, especially listening to our episode, I'd love for you to just get on iTunes, or if people have Spotify, you just, anywhere you listen to podcasts, it is the Pink Seed Podcast with me, Pia Harriman. And all I ask is hitting that 5th star, and I'm very grateful.
Awesome.
So, and other than that, piaharriman.com, that you'll find me, and I have all that information there.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And that's it for today's episode, everybody. I really appreciate you joining us, and many, many thanks to Pia for being my special guest. And if you have any questions at all for Pia, please leave a comment, and we'll notify her to make sure that she's aware of your question and she can help answer that. And if you know of anybody who would really get some value from watching this show, please hit the share button, share it to your followers, give us a like, and that's it for this episode. I'll talk to you next time. Bye for now, everybody.